and they are absolutely convinced that they're going to go broke because their competitor does this, their competitor does that, that's outside the zone of their marketplace. What I say to that is, so what? Hey everybody, Greg Winteregg here, CEO Matterhorn Business Development and author of my new book, Fun at Work. So I want to talk about a key issue in business that I actually sometimes get off a rant on, and that is profit. I have a question for you. If you aren't making profit, why are you in business? If you are focusing on number of leads, number of closes, number of YouTube followers, subscribers, you're focusing all of this and you're not making any profit, I don't get it. So I want you to change your mind. I want you to change your viewpoint, and I want you to start making profit. And there's a couple different ways to do this, but the first, most important, most rapid and fast way to make a profit is raise your rates. Now, don't just randomly raise your rates to rip off the public and sell them a cheap product for more money. No, raise your rates and make your product or service worth it. So let's talk about a couple different things here. First of all, let's just talk about the math. Let's say that your company is generating $100,000 a month in revenue. That's $100,000 a month that goes into the checkbook. You pay your staff, you pay your bills, you pay your vendors, and you end up with $20,000. Okay, that's awesome. You're running at 20% net. Now, think about this. A 5% increase in your fees gives you a 25% increase in your profit. Let's just do the math. So you raise your rates by 5%. Now you have $105,000 in revenue instead of $100,000. Your rent didn't go up, your light bill didn't go up, your salaries didn't go up. You go from $100,000 to $105,000. So you have an extra $5,000 in revenue. Now you had $20,000 in profit. You now have $25,000 in profit, 25% increase in your net. So you raise your rates by 5% and you make 25% more profit. This is the bottom line. It is the fastest way to raise your profit is take a look at your fees. Now, the first thing that starts to happen when I talk to a small business owner about raising rates, raising fees, raising prices is they almost start to vibrate and shake. They turn white and pale, and they are absolutely convinced that they're going to go broke because their competitor does this, their competitor does that, that's outside the zone of their marketplace. So what I say to that is, so what? Out-service your competitor, out-deliver your competitor. You've heard of the concept of the baker's dozen. You go into the baker, you buy 12 donuts and they give you 13, all right? That's just more exchange with the customer, giving them more than what they expected. That's pretty easy to do. And oftentimes it costs you $0 or next to $0. So my point, my philosophy has always been charge more and then out-deliver your competition, outperform your competition. So sit around and have discussions about how you're going to deliver a better product, a better quality product. You're going to deliver it faster to the customer rather than sitting around and with your accountant trying to figure out how you're going to lower salaries. You're going to start buying cheaper this or cheaper that and devalue and downgrade your product or service. I just don't like having that discussion. It just seems kind of weird. And then you kind of start turning into a con artist, somebody who now is selling something that's not quite worth it. So my view has always been outperform your competition and charge for it. You know, I'm a dentist. I have my dental practice. I sold my dental practice in December of 1993. And I was getting $495 for a crown. Now, a crown is a dental restoration that goes all the way around the tooth and keeps it from shattering. It goes around teeth that have big fillings, big cavities, that kind of thing. It's one of the most common restorations in dentistry. Probably most everyone watching this has had a crown. Now, I got $495. At the time, there was only one dentist in the area that was getting more than me, and that was 510 to my knowledge. There were other dentists, many were under me, but I outperformed. My patients were in temporaries for less time. I used the highest quality of gold and metals and materials. Now, think about this. That was December of '93. Last month, I talked to a dentist who's getting $445. And I just scratched my head. Like, I don't understand what that is. And the crowns are now being made in China with substandard products. And it's like, I just don't get that. I have a client in the Chicago area, which is no greater wealthy area than where this dentist is from, who's now getting $2,200 for a crown. What's the difference? It's just a difference in viewpoint of the owner. It's a difference of viewpoint of the dentist. Are you going to be driven by low cost, low fees, low quality, or are you going to be operating at the other end of the scale? And I can tell you who's making more profit. It's the dentist in Chicago who's getting $2,200. All right, so that pattern follows in any business, every business. And then the other thing about profit is you've got to raise your fees every year. You have to raise your rates, you have to raise your prices every year because there is inflation. Minimally, go online and find out what the consumer price index increase was for last year. And in January, February, when the number is released, you just raise your fees by that much. Otherwise, I mean, I've talked to owners who haven't raised their rates in 5 years. Okay, so every year they're taking a 2, a 3, a 4% cut in pay. And probably the employees are demanding an increase, your rent goes up, and it just gets magnified. It's awful. Every year, you have to raise your rates. Every year, you have to raise your prices, you have to raise your fees. And you must focus on profit. Now, you can focus on profit by tightening your belt and lowering your expenses, and you definitely should keep a lookout for that. But the way I handle profit is to expand. The way I handle profit is make more money while holding the line on the prices. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about here is I've seen business owners lower their rates and lower their fees in an effort to compete in the marketplace. That is not where you want to compete. So let's go back to the $100,000 a month revenue. And you lower your fees, you lower your rates by 5%. So now you make $95,000 instead of $100,000. Everything else stays the same, and now you take home $15,000 instead of $20,000. You just lost $5,000 a month. You just lost $60,000 a year. You just took a 25% pay cut with a 5% decrease to compete in the market. So I'm only going to say this. This is not a sales video. If you or your sales reps are complaining that your fees are too high, you can't close. Bottom line, you just can't sell. You either don't believe in the product, you don't value the product or service, there's something wrong with the product or service that it can't be sold, or there's something wrong with your viewpoint that it's not worth it. So rather than lower your rates by 5% and take a pay cut, I say raise your rates by 5% and get a pay increase. Now, you got to learn how to close. You got to believe in the product. You got to believe in the service. You have to out-deliver the competition. But listen, with the extra money, that's pretty easy to do. It's pretty easy now to do that baker's dozen and give that person, give that customer a little bit better service. It might cost you a few dollars. It's not going to cost you the whole 5% that you just increased. So profit is king. That's why you are in business. You need to raise your fees every year. You need to raise your fees right now. If you haven't had a price increase in 1 or 2 or 3 years, you are completely killing yourself, you're killing your family, and you're honestly not being a good CEO. So get my book, Fun at Work. Go to funatworkthebook.com. The entire book is there on how to grow, how to expand, how to build your business. And I've got a great chapter that covers all of this about profit. So I hope this has been helpful. I want you to be rich. I want you to make a lot more money. And I want you to out-deliver and out-service your competition so they will be a path to your door. The customers will love you. Just out-service and out-deliver the competition and make a profit. It's just honestly too simple. We'll see you next time.